PJNET.TV, 9:35 on the East Coast. Bumper running. JD standing by. We are recording. We are streaming. Switching to Studio 6 or Studio 8 actually. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Well, welcome back to PJNET.TV. This is the appointed time. It's actually about 5 minutes late because JD is always so gracious. We have a guest to yield some of his time so that we can just keep talking. Because it just, you get into things and, the Holy Spirit, the Lord just kind of directs us, folks. And I'm glad to be a part of it. I'm glad that you have elected to be a part of it too. Welcome all of you in the PJNET.TV chat room. Welcome all of you who are watching YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter. Hey, go join the chat room. It's at PJNET.TV. You'll meet some new friends, I bet. And that's good. Folks, it is time to take a trip around the Cross W Ranch, and we have the caretaker, I think he calls himself, the rancher, the guy that owns the place. JD is standing by. Well, JD, your blog at jdwininger.com, I'll put that on the screen. Folks, if y'all not reading, I'm not a big reader. I've said that, but I don't miss JD's blog. Well, because he's a guest on our program, and I kind of have to. But even if I didn't, okay, always interesting. And I think this one's a rerun. I think I've seen something similar to this, but it's a good message, and it's a message that I know we have several writers and authors here, and if you are a writer or an author or really in business of any kind, the subject of branding is going to be. You are going to reckon with, yes, sir. Oh, I meant to email JD. I have. Do you have a larger image of your logo other than the one on your website? Would you please send that to me? I know it's sure. Crazy to say that publicly, but I forget. I got an idea. Okay. Branding, it's important because see, it's not just marketing. Right. Your blog goes way deeper than that.
Thanks, Coach. It's funny, and you say it quite often in the lead-in, Coach. My brand is my brand, and when we bought and started the Cross W, Miss Diane and I, we developed this brand. We registered it with the state of Texas, and I've got a branded iron on the way because we're gonna freeze brand all the new calves we had this year. Because they're the first calves that came from both a sire and a dam that's been raised here on the Cross W. Yeah. So they're the first generation, if you will, of Cross W calves. And being all boys this year, they're going to market. So whether that's the auction or that's private treatise, they're going to the market. They're going to fulfill their destiny. But I want that brand. I want that Cross W to mean something. And I think most everyone in the chat room knows that D-U-B-Y-A, is simply the way Texans pronounce the letter W. Well, my last name being Wininger, you can kind of see where the W comes from. But I really felt strongly that this needed to be the Cross W, because I remember the day we closed on this place, Miss Diane and I drove out in the East Pasture, which was nothing but goat weed and horn milkweed and mesquite at the time, and we looked back towards the house, and I just saw all this promise and everything. But I said, Lord, I'm just a darn fool. I ain't got a clue how or what I need to do. But Father, if you'll stay with me, if you'll guide me, if you'll send me the people and help me acquire the knowledge I need, I'll turn this into the productive piece of land that you made it to be, Father, and we'll do it to glorify you. So the Cross W came about as our simple way of saying we're going to put Christ first in everything we do at this ranch. And we try to remember that and uphold that every day of every year since we've come here. And some days it's not real easy to do, but it's worth it, Coach. And that's a post from a few weeks ago. It's absolutely worth it. But our brand is much more than marketing or identifying that the cows belong to me, leave them alone. It really is what does it stand for? And when people see the Cross W brand, I hope they think of quality, honesty, integrity, and those are words that are so important because that's how we deal with people. It's what you can expect from a Cross W cow.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can expect it to have quality, good genetics. Now, it's a commercial cow. It's meant to be at. That's its purpose in life. But that means it's going to have good marbling. It's not going to be fat and gristly. It's going to be well cared for. It's not going to be mistreated and abused. And all those things matter, Coach. They really do. So look at that. But and I'm told that you played this as a lead-in to the show there in the chat room, and I appreciate that. But Mr. Red Stegall wrote a poem entitled "Ride for the Brand." And boy, I tell you, that just really struck home with me because it made me realize, yes, the Cross W is my brand. I represent the Cross W. When people see me or they read my writing, I want them to think about quality and honesty and integrity, but also want them to think about truth and love and caring and a God-focused life. But when I did that, I realized it's not just what I stand for, but who I stand for, Coach. Mm-hmm. And with a name like Cross W, who you reckon that might be, you know? And so, again, I'm trying to put Christ forward in my writing, in my ranching, everything that we do. And Mr. Stegall's poem just really hit home for me. I hope one day I get to meet that gentleman and shake his hand. He's got to be going on 80 years old now, but you'll still see him on RFD TV now and again. So just a wonderful gentleman. When I think of him, you know, it's funny because there's so much they talk about branding all the time now, and in the publishing world, mm-hmm. You got to have a brand and you got to brand yourself. And most people really have no idea how to do that. Now, given that I did some marketing in the defense industry and things, and took a few courses in college and read a few dozen books, I have a somewhat of an idea about marketing. But what really happens with the best known brands is that when you see the brand, your brain just conjures up images or conjures up words that you associate with your brand. For example, you see the Nike swoosh and you think athletics, right? Mm-hmm. You see the golden arches, you think McDonald's and French fries. And if you see that real expressive cursive writing,
calligraphy, I think is the word for it.
Yeah, it could be. But you think Coca-Cola, when you see that red and white, you know that's mm-hmm. either Coca-Cola or Chick-fil-A, right?
Right.
Yeah, it's one of the two. But when I see the golden arches, I think French fries. Now their burgers are okay, but I prefer Burger King hamburgers and McDonald's French fries myself. Oh. But I hate waiting in the drive-thru twice as long. So I have to settle. But when I got thinking about that and writing for the brand, and especially the words of that poem, I thought about how my words and my actions in my everyday, not just when I'm here on PJNET or when I'm posting a blog or when I'm talking to somebody, but in the way that I conduct my life, I'm a representative for Christ. That's the brand I ride for as a Christian. And each of us ride for that same brand. And what we say, what we do, every second of every day reflects that brand, Coach. And it drove me to my knees more than once in the past couple of years. When I stop at the end of the day, something I would do, and I continue to do, is I look at myself in the mirror before I go to bed. I wash this so ugly face and get ready for bed. And then I look at the face that's looking back at me. And either I made God proud today or I didn't. And if I didn't, then I need to hit my knees and ask forgiveness for that. Because I didn't represent the brand. And when I fail to represent what Christ is and what Christ does in me, then I tarnish that brand, don't I? I hurt that image. And that makes the gospel of the good news of Jesus Christ pretty ineffective for people. if they see me ranting and raving and acting like a darn fool. So I try to put that in the back of my mind and use that to ask the Holy Spirit to help me better gain self-control over this big old mouth of mine. And it helps, Coach. So I wanted to write about writing for the brand this week. We had talked about it in the past. You're right, Coach. But this was the first time I felt led to write it, especially now because, no, sir, I'm not perfect. I'm far from being a perfect Christian or a perfect husband or a perfect man or friend. But I do my best, and I try to represent Christ's brand each day. But I also represent my dad and mom and all that they poured into me, my siblings, my friends, who I associate with. But it got me thinking the past couple of weeks about all these fools that's acting up out there with the Antifa and the Black Lives Matters and things. And Coach, don't get me wrong here. If you need to protest, you got every right in this world to protest. As a free American, I fought to make sure you had the right to say what you feel you need to say. But some of these organizations that have moved into Minneapolis and Seattle and some of these other places, Coach, they're not doing anything to further the cause. They're not doing anything to ear their complaints. All they're doing is stirring up clamor and a ruckus and creating a lot of discord and disharmony and division that I don't believe necessarily exists to the extent that they seem to think it does. Here in Cooper, a little small town in flyover country, I work beside and shop with and deal with folks of different colors and different backgrounds and sometimes different languages, because when I go to load my feed, I'm usually speaking Spanish to them. But I deal with them every day, and we treat each other with respect and the dignity that we as human beings deserve. One of the greatest lessons of my life came from my mama, Teresa Marcella Legier, or Adams. And Mama would smile at anybody. It didn't matter when they come into the station. She had a smile on her face. And Mama, how can you do that? And especially this clown owes us $2,000 for fixing his car 2 years ago. Yeah. And she said, you smile because you never know when you're going to meet an angel, boy. Yeah. And she taught me that everybody should start life with you at 100%, Coach. Be your friend, assume the best in everybody, and wait for them to prove you wrong. And sadly, a lot of folks in this life will. But you got to give them the opportunity to prove that they are worthy of the trust that you've placed in them. And I've been burned more times than not, probably, by doing that. But you know what? It's a wonderful way to live life, Coach.
It goes so much deeper when you talk about writing for the brand, because you said earlier, you brand your cattle. That means they're yours, and that brand is permanent. It can't be erased.
That's right.
Okay. Well, folks, when we accept Jesus Christ, we are branded. We are branded. That is permanent. And the way we live our lives reflects we are writing for that brand at that point. And I love the way your blog and the poem that is connected to it indicates or underscores the importance of writing for the brand, because you should be proud. And there's the concept of loyalty. You've got the brand, but people become brand loyal. If you work for a company, work for them. And this is really a strong message that comes out in that poem. I complain about work plenty. Don't work, but at the same time, I'm reminded that as long as you work here, work here.
That's right.
And if you don't like it, go find somewhere that you do. And there's a lot of good messages in there. But folks, as Christians, we are branded, and we are therefore ambassadors for Christ. God said so. Now, I don't know if you truly understand the depth and the meaning of what an ambassador is. Ambassador literally means personal representative. Okay? When you don't, I mean, we don't tend to get too involved in ambassadors. We have ambassadors across the globe. And where we have that embassy is actually considered sovereign soil. Okay? It is sovereign soil. Do you realize that when an ambassador goes and speaks to a head of state, whatever that ambassador says is official policy? He better be telling the truth. He or she better be telling the truth. They better be speaking with the authority of the one that sent them.
That's right.
It is an awesome responsibility. Folks, we're not just Christians. We are ambassadors for Christ.
Amen.
And the gap between just a Christian and an ambassador for Christ is a big one. And we need to close that gap. Not by lowering the standard, but by raising our performance.
Yes, sir.
So, really good stuff. Really
Thanks, Coach. Hey, Coach,
thought-provoking.
if I could, as you were talking, I just God impressed something upon me that I want to share. It's not in my blog, but you talked about branding my cattle, and I'm going to brand our calves this year when I weaned them. But and this was such a wonderful analogy for me. I'd love to share it with the folks here on PJNET. And that is that when I brand that calf, and I freeze brand because it's much less painful,
more humane,
and things, and it'll be a beautiful white brand. Their fur will actually turn white because we shave them down to their carcass, freeze brand them with alcohol and nitrogen, and then when the hair grows in, it grows in white, and it stays that way. But what's neat about a cattle brand, Coach, and this is where it's analogous to our faith, is as that animal matures, the brand grows and grows. By the time this is a mature 18 to 24 month cow, that brand will be as big as a foot wide. Yeah. And can our faith grow as much as that brand will? Because it'll start out 3 inches, Coach. That's the size of the branding iron that I've ordered. But to watch it grow 400% inside of 2 years, can our faith grow that much too? But yeah, just as the brand grows, our faith grows, and that was it's analogy that God kind of put on me, and I just wanted to share that with you.
Yeah,
yes,
right.
Once we are sealed by the Holy Spirit, we are
permanent.
Branded for life.
Yeah,
as belonging to God. Amen.
There's nothing. Go read Romans 8, 38 and 39. There's nothing we can do. It's like you're a father. You can't revoke that. You can't recant it. It's permanent. And God literally adopts us into His family.
Amen.
Like that. So wow. All right. Well, it's always good. Branding is there's so much. We've got the marketing. Oh, here somebody once asked me. You hear, you gotta brand yourself. You gotta get a brand. Okay, well, what is a brand? And I think this is where your article really is thought provoking. What is a brand? And I was literally asked this question once, although it's been asked several times in different ways. But I was point blank asked, okay, I need a brand. What do I do? And I said, well, a brand, as you indicated, is a visual symbol that you, through your marketing, have associated with positive thoughts and images, in ideas. Okay, when you see the brand, it starts turning the cogs up here. But what it really, really, really is at its root is your reputation. For example, I said, if someone that you do know meets someone, or if someone you don't know asks someone you do know who you are, they're going to say, oh yeah, well, JD, he's the guy that... Folks, what follows the word that? is your reputation and therefore your brand.
Amen.
Okay? Now, this needs to be a governing influence on our life. If someone you don't know asks someone you do know, who is who you are, that person that knows you well, what are they going to say after the word, he's the person that, or she's the person that? Is that going to glorify God? Or is that going to glorify you? Or is that going to disgrace God?
Yes, sir. Who do you ride for, Coach?
Who do you ride for? Ride for the brand.
Amen.
And we are branded. Our Father has adopted us into His family, literally. And it's irrevocable, folks.
Yes,
it's
sir.
Irrevocable.
I got to tell you, I'm sure proud to share this brand with so many folks here in the PJNET family, all the folks in the chat room. When I listen to Mr. Ben speak, or I read one of his devotions, or the way he represents himself in Bible studies and other times I've got to share with him, the way I see the way Miss Barbara wears her heart on her sleeve, her patriotism, the way that I listen with earnest, especially near the end of Commentary and Perspectives on Friday night, because I know my friend, Brother Steve, is going to bring it home. He's going to bring us back to God. And that's to know that I share the brand with this family, Dell and Michelle and Doug and so many wonderful folks. And this Norma Gale, man, you cannot look at Norma Gale Holtman and not smile, can you, folks? She's just such a joyful woman. But it's just such a blessing to share the brand with y'all. Thank you so much. God bless. And thank you for who you are and all you do, Coach. I'm glad you ride for the brand, buddy.
Proud to have you riding for the PJNet brand, JD. You never let me down. All right.
That's right.
There's the man. We just took a wonderful trip around the Cross W with JD Wininger. He comes our way every Thursday night. He just mentioned Steve, Hazards 4. He's usually in the chat room. Yeah, he's there now. Oh, by the way, they're going to fix the profile picture eventually, sometime in July, they told me. Tomorrow night, Friday nights are very special here at PJNet.tv. They're special to me because I get to take a break. Okay? You will not see me on camera on Friday nights. We actually get cranked up about 9 o'clock, and we play some oldies. We have some fun. We go back and take you down a trip down memory lane. And about 10 o'clock or so Eastern Time, Hazards brings us my perspective and comments. Now, folks, this started out almost very organically and spontaneously. His first episode, he's just gotten a lot better. But he's a natural at this now. And, folks, if you did not watch the news all week, on Friday night, Hazards 4 will bring you a synopsis of the events of the week from a perspective of Jesus Christ. And he will wrap it up he will bring it home. And he knocks it out of the park. So I know Friday nights are a busy time for a lot of people. The weekend is coming up and maybe travel plans or whatever the case may be. But folks, we'd be honored to have you come join us on Friday night. It's a relaxing time for me because, again, I get the night off. The phone company came out today. But yeah, 2 bucket trucks. And to be honest, I slept through the whole thing. I worked all night last night and finally got to bed about 11:30 this morning. I'm working on something. Can you tell? I'm pretty excited about it. I'll share it with you. But apparently they hung the wire that is needed. So who knows? Maybe it's going to happen after all. It's been due about 8 times. But at least some cogs are turning. And so the day will come when we will have enough actual internet here to do some things we can't do today. That I am so looking forward to. Folks, wouldn't it be great to have PJNet.tv start at 8 p.m.? and then 8:30, and then 9, then 9:30. That'll keep me up till 5 in the morning making highlight videos, but that's okay. That's what we do. And folks, just so much good news. Folks, I've speaking of highlights videos, I'm going to make at least one tonight, and the other one will come up, Saturday or around there. So I get the heat's off a little bit because I have 4 days between now and Monday, and it's just great. We got a good team. And I'm glad that each one of you are a part of it. I got to go. But before I leave, there's 2 questions that I just dominate my thoughts almost daily, if not hourly. I want to share them with you. First question is, what is the boldest thing you have ever done for Jesus Christ? Second question is, how long ago was that? Folks, if we are truly going to be the ambassadors for Christ that we are called to be, we should never be satisfied with either answer.